A very old sickness has returned to me. Dragon Ball, am I right? Everyone knows Dragon Ball. Most people seem to enjoy Dragon Ball, or at least the idea of it. It's kind of a rite of passage to nerdom, right? Kind of like a gateway drug into anime. You know, it's to a lot of people, kind of like how Batman or Spider-Man would be for comic books. It's an excellent way to get introduced to a medium that otherwise you may not know of. And to be sure, I had more than my fill back when I was young. Quite a bit of Dragon Ball stuff. And I had a bit of a Dragon Ball collection even, though I did sell most of it off. And then, a few days ago, I found this guy again. So, I actually did have this Dragon Stars cooler before, but when I sold off all my Dragon Ball stuff, Cooler was the one I kind of regretted getting rid of the most. Cooler's a character that doesn't get that many figures, and I always did love his final form. Is it canon? No. Is he a great character? Not really. But God, does he look cool. But then I couldn't just stop at one. No. I had to get basically all the ones of all the characters I could find, and look at that, I even got a Figuarts. Isn't that just swell? So, as I re-enter this horrible collection of mine, I figured we'll make some videos, at least have some fun, hopefully make a little bit of money. So, where do we start with all of these goodies? Well, why not start with the asshole who got me into this? I mean, Cooler is as good a spot as any. Like I said, this is a good figure. Now, for anyone who may not be aware, Cooler is from the non-canon Toei movies of Dragon Ball. Specifically, I believe it was Revenge of Cooler and Return of Cooler were the two movies. He's from two of them, I don't remember the names, but essentially he's supposed to be Frieza's older brother, and he comes with a new form in his first movie, a fifth form for the Frieza race, and then in the movie after this he becomes a cyborg, Mecha Frieza. They did a Figuarts version of that version of Cooler. I don't think they've ever done a Figuarts of Final Form Cooler. They've definitely never done a Figuarts of Base Form Cooler. We still don't have that guy. But let's just look at this figure, considering it's kind of a one and done in a lot of ways. Getting Cooler out of the box, and this is a solid enough attempt at the final form. To be fair, there is some details missing, and moreover, the failings of the Dragon Stars line is still felt here. For anyone who's not clear on what this line is, essentially, Bandai is double dipping. They have Figuarts to give you the really nice Dragon Ball figures, and then they do Dragon Stars. They're budget figures. They run in a different scale so you can't cross over the two toy lines. But you'll occasionally get characters that either don't show up in Figuarts, or would be prohibitively expensive. There's characters like Janemba, who only have a Dragon Stars. And then you have people like Cooler, who, even though he probably wouldn't work, from an aesthetic level, he's big enough to where you could probably cheat him into a Figuarts collection. But now we got into the question of, do we do that? Taking a closer look, and Cooler is definitely well sculpted. You can see tiny lines in the body throughout, and you can see that there's a good number of hits of the paint. That said, there are some pretty immediate issues. Look right here on the arm. What is that? This guy came straight out of the box, but it looks like there's like glue or gunk on his forearm. There's more of that brown stuff through the chest. Unfortunately, there's also the fact that his articulation's just a bit weird. So he has a ball joint, but he can't go much forward. So he's constantly looking down, which is a shame because I would love to see his face better. He has a universal joint at the shoulder, but the shoulders are very stiff and almost feel like they would break. You have an upper arm rotation. You have a single jointed knee, or elbow rather, but you do get a good bit of articulation there. You have a universal at the wrist, though it's hard to make use of. A solid enough diaphragm joint that has a little bit of click in it. You have a universal here at the tail. You have a rotation at the mid-tail. You have a drop-down hips as well as universals there, which is good. Upper leg rotation, double jointed knee, and then universal at the feet. So you do have good points of articulation, to be sure, comparable to a Marvel Legends. The issue is the joints all are so stiff and kind of feel fragile. that's a bigger issue with the line as a whole, and a big reason as to why I sold all my Dragon Stars before. I'm more willing to put up with them now just because I want good representations of these figures without breaking the bank, but I'm not going to lie to anyone and act like they're just a pinnacle of quality. They're fine, decent even, but they're leagues below something like, say, a Marvel Legends or even a McFarlane DC figure, because maybe the plastic is just a touch off. You do get a handful of accessories though. By handful, I mean you get hands. You get 2 fists and then 2 open hands. You can either use these to catch or perhaps to have a dramatic posture. One sec, it just came out of the thing. There we go. The hands are very loose on the wrists, which makes them very prone to falling off. That said, at least it gives you a little bit of dynamicism. If you want a more refined and gentlemanly cooler, perhaps, you can definitely get a good bit more of a refined aristocrat villain, as opposed to just punchy-kicky all the time, which, to be fair, is more what cooler actually is. But hey, damn it, Dragon Ball Abridged actually tricked me into thinking cooler was, cool. Here's where I am as a human being. I like Dragon Ball, but I don't want to spend $100 a figure. I don't want to spend $50 a figure. The figure arts are great. I'm never going to deny that. I got rid of my Dragon Stars collection just because I didn't like them, but I think the figures are good enough that if you were actually selective about which ones you get and were on board with the limitations they have, they're decent figures. You still get them for $20 even, making them now $5 cheaper than Marvel Legends or Star Wars Black Series. The articulation is there, and when it feels good, it's great. And the figures at the end of the day are stable, so it's not like they're constantly falling over. The accessories leave something to be desired, but at least they give you the hand options. And the paint, though it can be rough, can also be striking, once again, depending on the figure. The simple fact of the matter is, I don't know if I could fully recommend Dragon Stars. I definitely don't know if I could fully recommend this cooler. What I will say, though, is, at this point, I feel like my collection's getting closer and closer to just being done. And I would like to have Dragon Ball representation, not just because I'm a fan of Dragon Ball, but because Dragon Ball Abridged legitimately is a huge inspiration for me as an online content creator. So, with all that said, yeah, I'm fine with this cooler. I think it is a good enough figure. It's really hefty in the hand, looks striking enough, and has enough of a visual identity that I could put it on the shelf, feel good about it, play with it sometimes, and just know, yeah, that's my cooler. How obvious is it that I'm just trying to justify being an idiot with money?